Hello everybody, welcome to Technique Tuesday. Today we're going to be making this Flying Seagull card, and the reason it's called this is because Sue Campfield, the lady who I think came up with the original idea, they decided that it looked like a flying seagull, which it kind of does. I think it's a really cute name, but even more so that it's a really cute and impressive card. It's a few cuts and folds, and then it's more a case of just sticking it together and assembling it. So let's get straight on. Just so you know, it actually fits into a standard A4 envelope. You can either fold it like this, so when your recipient opens it, it does that, or you can actually even tuck these pieces behind and make this the impressive part that they open. Either way, it stands up on the shelf or the mantelpiece of whomever's lucky enough to receive it. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm using today the Bright and Beautiful 6x6 inks designer series paper because it's just so pretty and there are so many fun and different designs in there. The stamp set I'm using is the Darling Details. That's where the flowers came from, with the Darling Details die cuts to get them out of, and the greeting comes from Colour and Contour, and then it's cut out using one of the Stylish Shapes die. So that's all the pieces, and the colour, the ink colour that we're using to coordinate with it all is Fresh Freesia. So without further ado, let me show you how we make that. So it's two pieces of cardstock, and they're both 8 1/4 by 4 1/4, and they're scored at 2 1/4, at 4, and at 6 1/4, both of them. Then there is a piece which is just a square 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. The designer series paper is 4 by 4, and then in order to fit on the panels, you need two pieces of designer series paper which are 2 by 4, and two slightly skinnier ones which are 1 1/2 by 4. As always, of course, all the dimensions and the instructions and assembly tips will be in the description box below, but I just wanted to give you a heads up if that's what we're going to be using. And then this is just a spare piece of white in order to cut the flowers, to die cut them out. So we'll do the stamping first, I think, and it's a bit of a trick how you get them to look two different colors. So I'm going to put the two-step stamping, and let me just peel that off altogether before it rattles its way through the entire video. So I'm going to pop the base one onto one acrylic block and the overlay section on another, and then we'll actually do the little flower, the smaller flower, a little bit later. So this is how you do two-step stamping with just one ink colour instead of having to lay over. If you did them both full strength, you wouldn't be able to see them, but with a little piece of scrap paper, ooh, I'm molting. So what we do is we stamp it full strength onto the first layer, stamp it off onto a piece of scratch paper, and then stamp it onto the cardstock that you're going to use. So again, we'll just stamp it up full strength, stamp it off onto a scratch of paper, and then stamp it on to the cardstock that you want to die cut, or actually onto the main body of your card. And don't worry, this is meant to be mottled. It's not that it's misstamped or anything. That's the design of the stamp. Then what we do is we take the overlay stamp and we ink it up full strength, and this is what we stamp onto the body. Oh, I've done it upside down, but this is what we stamp onto the body of the card. So the underlay is stamped off once, and then the overlay is at full strength. Just got to ink up my fingers. So that's how you do that. So what I did was, of course, by the power of television and YouTube and Blue Peter and all those fun things I usually say, I did go ahead and stamp them and cut them out with the dies, so you didn't have to wait for me to do that. This one, I did two of them just as an in case scenario, exactly the same scenario. I stamped the body first and then the overlay second. And even though there is a die that cuts them out, I thought for those of you who don't invest in the dies, it's just as easy to cut around it. I just fussy cut that with my snips and it looks pretty much the same as the other two. So you don't always have to get the dies. They're fabulous and they're fantastic. And if you buy them as a bundle with the stamp set, you get a 10% discount. But just so that you can see, these were cut with the dies. These were cut just by me and my scissors. So again, I would have run these through the die cutting machine and ended up with these. So now we're going to get on to how we assemble this lovely card. And what you need is the bigger size to the left. When you've scored it at 2 1/4, 4 and 6 1/4, this side is 2 1/4 and the side beyond is only 2 inches. So you need to fold that one, give it a really nice crease with a bone folder, fold it on the next score line. So we're doing a mountain fold, a valley fold, but actually this one is also going to be a valley fold. So what you're going to end up with is this shape. And then we're going to do the opposite on, it's going to be like a mirror image. So we're going to give this one the mountain fold. Oops, make sure it's lines up straight. Give that a valley fold. And then again, the second one is also going to be a valley fold. So you get the same, just the other way on. And these two smaller pieces, the length, that's 2 inches. If you've lost yourself, you're not quite sure which one is which, or you folded them the wrong way, the pieces that are 2 inches are the 2 pieces that you need to butt up against each other. And then the bigger pieces, the 2 1/4 inch pieces, are at the side. So before you glue anything to anything, it's easy just to go back and measure it just to be sure. Then we're going to take the piece that was 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 and we're going to attach that. That's what gives it the mechanism. These pieces are just behind here. So that's how it was. That's the 2 pieces and these are the longer lengths. So you can use your liquid glue so you can move it around, or I'm actually just going to use my tape runner. And it's just because the overlay piece is 4 1/4 and this is 2 lots of 2 inches, you've just got a little bit to play with. So what I'm going to do is where the edge comes and where the fold is, I'm just going to place this between the 2 of those, like at 1/8 of an inch. Make sure the top and the bottom are lined up and press it down. And then I'm going to put the glue on the other piece, the 2 inch section. And then I'm going to just put the glue on, flip it over. So the sticky side is going to go up against this one, sticky side down, and press it into place. So when you turn it over, you've got your seagull. Ooh, flying off. So you can see there's just 1/8 of an inch on this side and 1/8 of an inch on this side. And then when you fold it, this makes the regular card base size. So it ends up being 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And if you wanted to, because of the sizing, you can tuck it so this is on the front. So that's the assembly of the piece. Now we get down to the fun decorating. So what I did was I took a piece of 6x6 from the Bright and Beautiful, just picked some colors that I felt matched nicely. This is 4x4. It's the 1/4 inch size smaller of the piece that we made the body of the card with. And then we're just going to place that on with the same layer all around. And then you need the 2 inch and the 1 1/2 the 1.5 and the 2. So the 2 by 4 inch panels go on the outside, and the 1.5 by 4 inch panels go on the inner piece. So we'll just pop those quickly on, remembering that there's a border all the way around. Move those so we can see better. You don't have to try and squeeze them in underneath. They do actually just fold out of the way, which is rather handy. I do like this designer series paper. There is honestly such a selection. It's become quite a thing now that mostly the designer series paper can actually be the star of the show of your card. So there we have it. It's all fastened in together, and now all we need to do is add the decorations. Oh, one of the other things I did stamp earlier, and in my haste forgot to mention it, I took You're Absolutely Amazing, which is the greeting that came out of the Colour and Contour. So again, I just stamped that onto the paper that I did these with, used the stylish shapes and cut that out. So that's going to go on. So I'm going to just put 2 of the flowers just down with the adhesive. Oops, come on. There we go. I'm going to just pop that one on, basically just somewhere. And then I'm going to pop dimensionals onto the back of the other big flower and to the edges of the greeting. So we're going to fling those off as usual. Pop that on so it just gives it a little bit of depth and dimension. And then likewise with the greeting. Peel the backing paper off and stick that down, and that's it. Once you've got your scores and the main plate, the main body of the seagull on, the rest of it is just having fun designing it. So like I said, you can either pop it into the envelope like this, so when the person receiving it opens it, it reveals all, or you can tuck them behind. They fall down to be exactly the same size, so then they can open it. And there's plenty space in here for writing a greeting or stamping a secondary greeting. So I think that's just a really fun way of making a fun fold card. I did go ahead and made a, oops, flinging my background. So I made a blue version and I used the circle, the new circle set, the circle sayings. So using Here's Your Afternoon, and then this one is made with actually the lemon and lime body rather than just the basic white body, but it works the same. Lots of lovely colour. This one I think is actually rather fun if it's hidden. I don't know why, it's just bright and cheerful. This one goes with this, the same guy, the little guy I had made. Actually, the reason I made this card was last time when I made the diagonal fold card. This little guy was spare and I thought, oh, I can use you up on my next venture, and this is it. So there we have it, 3 completely different styles of card, but all made with the same basis. So if you like what you've seen, please go ahead and subscribe, give me a like, give me a shout out, give me a share. Those things help my algorithm at the end of the day. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.